Saved by Typing exists because when we discovered our son John was able to communicate, knew how to spell words, and had an undetermined level of intelligence at the time, but it was certainly more than a 3-year-old, which we had been told for many years. At the time, by the time he was 16 and a half years old, he started typing for us. He told us about the isolation and the misery and the pain, and he started to type about that, of not being able to communicate, not being able to express love, not being able to have any shot at directing his own future, being basically warehoused and institutionalized, still living in our home, but on a track to nowhere, with no say and no ability even to tell people that he loved them. He said, I'm really glad that I have a voice now, but I'm really, really sad for all those that I left behind me. The thousands and thousands of other people, including people in my school, that have a voice. We got to go get them. We got to open the way for their voices to be discovered, and for them to come in communication with their family, and for them to be able to show how smart they are. Saved by Typing, to set up an organization so we could make it possible for other parents to find out about this, and other professionals who work with the nonverbal autistic population. The question is, well, can typing help them? It's not for everybody, but for those that can help, it can transform a family and transform all the relationships around them. He wanted to show how smart that he was, and I mean, he learned all of the multiplication tables in an hour, and then he learned all the division tables in an hour, and he had never had multiplication or division. He'd been on life skills the whole time. There was one teacher that he had in middle school who believed that he was smart, even though he hadn't demonstrated it. And she taught him, she would read to him history and English, novels, and so when he came out, are there any subjects that you particularly like? I really like history and English. And how do you know that? Well, because Jane worked with me. Jane Schreiner was the woman's name. And so he said the stress, a big change in him is just a lack of stress for the fact that he can communicate. He says the most important thing for a person is to be able to get to them, to their level of communication, and to educate until you can communicate. Not to just have people be doing dumb tasks like in ABA. He said that was the most demeaning thing, and in fact it actually added stress rather than decreasing stress. So John says, you know, the greatest thinkers of our age are probably locked up with autism, and everybody's treating them like bumps on a log. And he says we can help solve problems because we look at the world differently than you do too. It's your thinking, you normals, who kind of operate in a world of agreement where you even hold yourself back by what you agree is possible and not possible. He says you normals have created problems in our society that need solutions. We can access solutions because we come from a totally different place that you don't have, at least solution possibilities. So it'd be smart to bring us into the communication and into the community of inclusion. The things I want mostly people to be able to see right from the time they get to the website is that this is an active community of people. That these aren't people that are just easily misled or making up that their kids can type because they need to hope in something. This is mostly pretty smart people that are pretty skeptical of whether their child could type after all those years or could communicate or had anything really going on, and had to be convinced. But we're just open to the possibility that maybe, no guarantees, their child could do something. And by being open, their child had a space to begin to move into. And with the right training and trained personnel, then their child could begin to work with and type and express themselves to more people. There's nothing like feeling that typer's hand move into the keys they want to move to. Because you know it's not you that's doing that pushing and that pulling, that's the typer. The next thing is to be able to see, for the website, is to be able to see that, hey, these really are people that are typing. And many of the people that type independently now didn't type independently 5 years ago, a year ago, or 10 years ago. They're people that needed to start with some assistance, and then they worked their way to independence. John explains that we can't imagine in the normal world how low one's self-esteem gets to be. When, from the time that you were diagnosed as autistic, you became what you were never going to be able to do. Because the doctors will say, he'll never be able to do this, he'll never be able to do that, he'll never be able to do that. And then the educators come, and the psychologists come with all their brilliance, right? They never had any autism. And they say, well, he'll never be able to do this, he'll never be able to do that, and he'll never have this capacity, he's limited in this capacity. That's how they're known. And so he says, you can't imagine, he says at some point you wonder if you even have a voice. And if you did, would it even matter? Because does anybody really care? He says there's a special role that the typers have, that the nonverbals have, who have come into the world of communication, is to be there for the new typers, who, when they come into the world, he says the world of communication is bright. It hurts your eyes. You don't know what to expect. This is brand new, and you're also exposing parts of yourself. But you begin to realize that the power of communication can be huge. He says it's really important for the typers who've been there. They're really the only ones who can walk alongside of the new typers that are coming in and encourage them and let them know that it's going to be okay, and answer questions and help them into this world and reassure and help them move faster than maybe they moved. It's an amazingly humbling experience to be part of giving somebody a voice. And it's also amazingly humbling to realize the gifts that we all have, that I have, that I've taken for granted all along, that these kids didn't have. John explains, we have wide vision, wide field capacity to absorb information. He says we never learned to read one word at a time. We taught ourselves just to look at the whole page and understand what it says. So we look at the whole field, every pin. If it's technical, it might be more difficult to process, but in any case, we're seeing the whole thing. So we can read really, really fast. We want to reach as many people as we can, bring them into the world of communication. We realize that it's really important to have local communities of typers to help new typers, new possible typers come in to the world, and to teach many of the people who would support the typers. We want to reach as many minds, bring them into the world of communication, help them figure out for themselves what contributions they could make. I mean, when you read these guys writing, they could be brilliant copywriters. John says, you guys waste words with if you had to speak 1,000 words a day and you go over 1,000, you don't have language anymore. Our speech would be a lot different. Each of us would choose our words a lot differently. Or if we had to individually type every word that we would say, we'd be much more careful. So the typing shapes their words. Their words have much more meaning and more power, and there are other things that they could do along those lines. They really have a capacity to look at a whole problem and all the facts and get down to the nitty-gritty really efficiently and express that, the nuggets in a unique way. And so Safe by Typing would really, the design would be to do that and to support other local communities. I'm thinking that if somebody in St. Louis or in Baltimore or someplace else wanted to start a chapter, we would let them have a page and go at it. Our big thing would be making sure that it's real, that the quality is there, that people aren't putting words in the typers' mouths, but that it really is typers that are nonverbal autistics that are expressing themselves, and that there's more self-determination, more love, more richness for our society as a result of that. He wrote Friendship as a Path to Holiness, which just totally blew me away, that the dimensions of friendship change all of science's projections. Because we can say we're going to pollute ourselves to death, we can say we're going to run out of clean water, we're going to run out of food, we're going to run out of space to live, and all those things as human beings. And that justifies whatever we want to socially engineer among ourselves. But when we're saying all that, we're not appreciating the power of friendship, because when we're truly friends, we think differently. We welcome each other, and we're willing to sacrifice for each other. We're willing to give to each other, the nature of friendship. And from that, all the dimensions change. All the projections change, all the thinking changes, new possibilities occur. And then he asks, was there ever a greater friend than the walking Christ? And then what the responsibility is for anyone who's Christian from the perspective of friendship to be changing the world, and that friendship really is a call to holiness. And in that, we have no problems that we can't overcome. That together we can do anything. So those are just a couple of examples of what he's been teaching me that I had no appreciation for. I'd say go on our site and find master trainers, and I've been to the Syracuse University trainings and been trained. Go to the Syracuse University website, the Center for Inclusion and Communication, and find out about what programs they have or what people they can put you in touch with. And don't get your hopes up. There's no guarantee, but what if your child is just there waiting and you just don't know? Your child can be amazing, and I'd say get in front of somebody that can tell if they really can type and that can teach you how to communicate with that child. And if they can type, wow, it's going to be, the world is going to change, because they're going to share stories like John, and they're going to have insights, and they have a depth of spirituality that's humbling as we begin to communicate with them. It's just, they have been taken to the, as John said, their souls ascending from hell. And it's the trained facilitators that help them to ascend from the hell of their isolation. And it's an amazing gift to be able to help them do that. So that's what my recommendation. Just get in touch with Syracuse University, get plugged into somebody, and get plugged in with parents. Find out just where parents are that are doing some typing, and begin to get together. If there's a typer, find some other typers in the area and begin to get together, because that monthly getting together really is meaningful, because these people are isolated. If you think about it, even most of the day, they don't have an easy ability to communicate, ever. And sometimes they have absolutely no ability to communicate. And so the ability to get together with other typers, to get together with other typers, is really, really special. Thanks for asking.